don't know what brought you right here, but baby girl, to me it's clear.
Alright, third fucking time recording this shit. I don't know what the hell is happening to my camera. But anyway, hi, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the new pony effect customizing lip palette. Now, if this video seems very like choppy and very like edited, as most of my videos are, this one is going to be extra edited, I suppose, because I'm reading off of this script that I had to write, because usually I do these things very like stream of conscious, and then I'll end up editing like that. That's why they appear the way they are. And but this one is like very important that I get all my thoughts like organized, because this is a very important review and I want to make sure that I include all the information that I need to. So yeah, if it seems that way, that's why. And also, this is probably gonna end up a very long video, so if you are interested in just seeing like the review part or the swatches, then I'll put timestamps right here for you to check out, and you can skip to that part if you want. So when I saw the advertisements for this, I was like really surprised. I would have never thought in a million years that Pony would come out with something like this. I don't think I've ever seen any brand come out with anything like this, in Korea at least. So it was quite a nice surprise. So in the palette, you get 10 pans, each with a different lip product in there. You also get this brush in there. It's a square brush on one end, and on the other end you get like a silicone tip that you can use to pick out the lip products, where you mix right here on this little mixing palette. And you have your little mirror here, of course. This little square hole here is for you to put your thumb in, so it's easier to hold the actual pan. Now it's time for like a little bit of math, so please like bear with me. The palette comes with 11 grams of product, so that's about 1.1 grams per pan. The palette itself is 38,000 won, so that's about 3,800 won per pan. $1 is about 1,000 won, so you can think of it like a 1-to-1 ratio. $1, 1,000 won. Her outfit lipstick, which actually I need to fucking reapply this shit. This is in the shade No Makeup, by the way. But one of these lipstick costs about 23,000 won for about 3.5 grams of product. If we're just gonna consider the main like base colors in this palette, like right here, it would come out to about 7,600 won per palette, so about $7.60. So a little over like 3 of these would equal about 1 of these lipsticks. However, if you consider, you know, you get these other shades that you can use to mix in to these colors to get like a sort of variety of shades, then I personally think like it's a really good deal. Especially seeing as a lot of like lipsticks in Sephora are way more expensive even. So this also leads me into my next topic, which is the pigmentation. You only need like a little bit. You'll see in like the swatches later. You only need a very tiny amount. Now that doesn't mean like you just get like a little tiny pinpoint amount of like lipstick and then that will like cover your whole mouth, but a little bit definitely goes a long way. If for example we're talking about like the brush that comes with, or not comes with, but basically her lip brush from her brush collection, I only needed to load this up like once, mostly like load up really well at the end. That was able to cover basically my whole mouth. Now my mouth is small, so that's something to consider. That, however, is when we're talking about these colors. These colors up here, like the colors that adjust the tone and the hue and the value, it's kind of a different story. These I find are more not as opaque as these. They're more of a sort of like greasy texture, which honestly I don't really mind, because they're meant to be like, you know, mixed with these. So they're not technically meant to be one alone. You can if you want, but like I said, they're supposed to be meant to be mixed with these. So I wouldn't care too much about how like well pigmented they are. Pigmented, but they're not like these, of course, like true lipsticks, unless you're about that sheer life, which some people are about, I guess. If you really did want to use one of these alone, you would probably need to use a matching like lip pencil or eyeliner to go under it, and then you'll get that full color. So the formula, other than being like really pigmented, I find super blendable. It actually claims to be a highly blendable formula, which I totally agree with. Like a little bit amount like really spreads across the lips. But my favorite part about this whole like product, I think, is probably the about the formula at least, is like the comfortability. Is that even a word? It's how comfortable it feels on the lips. It's funny because I have a ton of lip products, but like I don't hate it, but whenever I have something on my lips, I'm always like pursing my lips. I'm always smacking my lips together because I just feel it there. That's why I can never have anything on my lips other than lip balm, because if I put anything else, it'll just like rub off unless it's like a tint or something. Formula on these colors is like really comforting and really hugs the lips. It creates a sort of like almost film across the lips. So in turn, it doesn't really, I find that it doesn't cling onto like dry patches. Even after I had swatched like all 35 little swatches on my plate thing, even at the end, my lips still felt, I mean, they felt pretty raw, but the color still smoothed over all of the like roughness, and it still ended up looking like really smooth. Now the thing is, my lips are very, very sensitive. Even if I use like scrubs, like, you know, those like brown sugar scrubs, like I scrub my teeth with like not my teeth, but my lips with a toothbrush, I still find that there's like either like micro dead skin, or my lips look just like really like not smooth like most other people would if after they exfoliate their lips. And so my lips just don't really take well to like lip color. And the thing is, I like to wear because I'm a boy, I guess, I try to make it as less apparent as possible. But if I'm having like these dry ass looking lips with like a lip color on top, then it's like defeating the purpose, for me at least, because then it becomes really obvious. And it's just the look of like really dry, like lipstick never looks good on like dry ass cracked looking lips anyway. But yeah, the formula, very comforting, quite moisturizing. Actually no, I wouldn't say it's moisturizing, but it's not drying, it's just comfortable. The finish of the lipsticks here are more, not lipstick, it's not a lipstick, the lip products here, the finish is more of like a classic creamy lipstick. It's not really matte, but it's not super glossy either. It's like in between. It has a bit of sheen to it. If you want to mattify it, which you totally could, you can just blot it with like a tissue, or you can put some translucent powder on top using either your finger or like a brush. Now the wear time on these is pretty standard. A few like 4 or so or 5 hours. But the thing is, I've never worn these like full on anyway, so I can't really say anything about that. But because the pigmentation is so strong, it actually kind of leaves like a stain on the lips. So when it fades with like dignity. It doesn't look like an ugly, like, if you've seen some people, like my grandpa's girlfriend, she'll have like her lipstick on the outside and then on the inside there's like nothing. It doesn't look like it fades with dignity. It leaves like a stain, so you still have a really pretty color there, even if the like full lipstick is like gone, I guess. And actually my manager, she tried it out herself, and right after that we went out for lunch. But even after like this really greasy lunch we had, and after, you know, she was drinking water or whatever, it was still pretty much there for like, it was like 70% there. So you're getting like quite good stain power with this. I wouldn't say like liquid lipstick level, but it's pretty good for like this. Because honestly, when I first saw these, I was like, that looks like children's makeup. You know, when you see pans like this, you think of like Elf or something, or like Maybelline or whatever. They come out with like the lip palettes that are just like really greasy, or it looks like Halloween makeup almost. But these are like legit, and I've said before that Pony's like lip products, A+. Now, do I think that the palette is practical? Nope, not at all, not the least bit. Actually, Jungkook, Eddie, he told me that this got a really low rating on Glowpic. It's one of his favorite Korean sites for like product reviews. It's like one of the top actually for like Korean beauty product reviews. And the thing is, everyone said that like I was saying, the product itself is really, really fantastic, but because you're like doing all this mixing mess, like it's a hassle. But then again, these are like basic bitches that are like living in the middle of like Gyeonggi-do or whatever. They don't have business like really having to use this. These are like girls that love their tits and all that. So, you know, I really think unless you're like a makeup artist that has clientele, or you genuinely enjoy like the process of like mixing and creating colors, or you just always have trouble finding the right shade of lipstick to go with your makeup that day, I really don't think it's completely necessary, to be honest. But you do know who I think would get a kick out of this is actually people with like really deep skin, or people of color. Of course, fair and light skinned people can wear these colors as well. They'll look totally fine, but I think for people of color who I think have trouble finding colors within like the realm of Korean makeup, because so many colors are like very white based and can make them look really ashy or like washed out, people like those that have trouble with that, I think this would be a really good option. But these colors are like super juicy, they're super delicious, and they're vibrant, which is what I think people of deeper skin tones and people of color really would benefit from, whether it be like a Korean style like lip gradient or like full on lip color application, either or. So some slight like annoyances and I guess like cons of this palette. Now this shit can get real messy, bitch. It can get real messy. Obviously with all of these little pans here that are all out in the open and are exposed. God knows how many fucking times I stuck my finger in here by accident, especially because it's like right above where the thumb hole is. When I first got the palette, I was like ready to take a fucking photo. What happens? I stick my finger in here by accident, and it leaves this huge dent, so I have to like literally Photoshop the dent out. I find myself often having to wipe down the palette with a mirror, like obviously here where the colors are mixed, and here as well, where if I'm using the spatula thing to dig out product, I have to wipe it out or wipe it down. Otherwise, if I put it back, then it'll get all over this, and it can be really messy. Also, because all these colors are kind of like exposed in the open, it is a makeup product that is involving like the lip and mouth area, so that can be a cause of concern, especially in terms of like bacteria. If you are a makeup artist especially, then that's definitely something to think about, where you're working on like, you know, different clientele, different people. But one issue that I think, well, it's probably not that big of a deal, but I think an annoyance, I guess, that can come up later on is if you create a lip color using these products and you really like this color, you'll have it there, but then you'll use up all of it, but you want to make it again, you'll have to use the exact like ratio of whatever colors you were using. And at that point, you're like, unless you like exactly remember how much you were using or you have some sort of system, then it's probably going to turn out different every time. So it's not like you can save the color that you really like. You just have to keep mixing it every time. And also that could lead to problems of like, in terms of like wasting product, because say you're trying to mix the color that you liked that you put on yesterday, but you keep getting it wrong, and so you keep trying to add more of each color, but then you end up using up all this product, and you have like this huge pile of color that you mixed up, but it's still not the right shade that you like. So that's something to think about. The product itself is great. I just think those are some of the like small annoyances, I suppose. But honestly, they're just stuff that I can look past. I completely forgot to talk about this, but the brush that comes with it is pretty decent. Like, you got the silicone tip that is really bendy. You can use it to, you know, scoop out product, mix on the mixing plate here. And the brush itself is very not stiff, how do you say it? Pretty dense synthetic fibers, which are really good for, you know, filling in your lips. And I find this is, you know, this is usable. It's not like one of those sponge applications you get in eyeshadow that are kind of, I mean, they're still effective, but they're not useful like something like this. So, you know, this will pass for using for your lip products in this. It's doable. It's doable. So that's what I think of the palette. Now it's time for the swatches. I'm going to start out with the base shades, and then after that I'm going to go through all the base shades again, but after having mixed the whatever hue is there, I guess, the top row of colors. Now, of course, you can adjust how altered the color is by adding more or less of each value, tone, hue, shade, like the top row. And before I start, I really want to apologize for like the terrible swatching you're about to see. My lip shape is like very not that great. Like, I don't really have a cupid's bow. My lip shape is not really defined. My mouth in general is kind of small as well. So it's not gonna look glamorous as like other YouTubers swatching things. And also, it does not help that when I was in 3rd grade, I fell on my face onto tile flooring. So I like busted my fucking lip open, and so this side is like completely, like, compared to this side, it's more swollen looking, I guess. So please just ignore that. This is for the purpose of like showing swatches. And I don't get decent, I guess, until about halfway through the swatches. So if you look at the first swatch compared to like the last swatch, then they're quite different. And also, when I was swatching the red one, I forgot that because the camera was so up close, you could see like my mustache, and that is not glamorous when you have a mustache and like a hot red lip. Then please forgive me. All right, so starting with glamorous, I'd say this is basically a dupe for like MAC's Ruby Woo, just a different formula. It's not super matte like the MAC one. Dazzling is a pink and fuchsia that would look really good actually around fall. If you like fall colors, but you're not really into that, like, you know, deep maroon, burgundy, very like berry colors, then this would be a good option. Charming is a really bright, and by bright I mean like vibrant, shade of pink. It's almost, I would say, like a natural shade of pink, but like with a bit of punch to it, like a bit of kick to it, a bit of kick. This is actually a color I, in the summer, I often wore as like a gradient. Bubbly is, like its name suggests, is a really cute and sweet, kind of neutral coral. It's a really good shade for the summer. However, you can definitely make this a fall color by mixing in those other shades with it. Fascinating is kind of your like resident nude shade in the palette. It's like a browny pink, but leaning more towards pink. Very, very wearable. And I'm really glad she included a nude shade, like a proper nude shade in this palette, because nude shades are different for every person, and because there are those shades where you can like mix in and adjust the shade, make it deeper, lighter, or whatever, you can find like the perfect shade for you, which can be difficult because it all depends on like your skin undertones and your, you know, the hue and tone or whatever of your skin. Now starting from the left, Angelic is a straight up just white shade. It's just white. Alone, it looks terrible. It looks patchy. It's super sheer. Like, I would not even bother. Like, adding Angelic to your mixture will lighten the value. Value is how light or dark the color is. It will lighten the color depending on how much you add. The colors seem to be brighter and they come up lighter. This is good for people with more fair to light skin tones that don't want to wear like such strong colors. You know, it almost adds like a sort of like Jeffree Star vibe. He seems to have a lot of like lip colors that fall under that category or family, I guess. Sexy will, like the name suggests, make the color sexier, I guess. It just deepens the shade. I think it's like self-explanatory. It's like it's black pigment. From the beginning, you want to add like a little by little because it's a very strong color, and I think I made a mistake of like adding too much to each shade. You definitely want to add like a tiny bit and then add little by little as you go, depending on how much you want to put. You do want to keep in mind though that, let's say for example, you added too much white to a color and you want to like deepen it up again. Adding black is probably, you want to keep in mind because white and black obviously make gray, so the color's going to end up a little bit gray. But yeah, that's just something to keep in mind. And also vice versa, if you added too much black, you need to lighten it. Add more of the original color, basically. So those were the two kind of value changing colors. Now we're gonna get into the colors that change the tone and hue. Starting with the purple shade Sensual, it's just a violet purple. Yeah. It doesn't really change the colors too much. You could probably add more to do so. I probably didn't add enough. But it kind of adds a sort of like fall twist to the color, I noticed. Also, it's really good if you have like olive undertones or your skin is sort of like a medium skin tone. I think it'll adjust the color to make it suit you very well. Cool is a blue toned shade. It kind of, I think it has like a bit of green to it, like a green undertone to it. What I like about this shade is that it adds that vibrancy to a shade to make it wearable for people of color or deeper skin tones. Just like Sexy, it deepens the color, but it also changes that hue to that kind of hue that I think makes, you know, like I just said, makes the color wearable for, you know, people of deeper skin tones so that it doesn't end up looking like too ashy, I guess. And it also adds a bit, almost like a vampy sort of vibe to the color. So especially if you have fair to light skin, it can give that like vampy look if you add Cool to it, your whatever color you're mixing up. And then last but not least, we have Vibrant. Just like the name says, it adds like vibrancy to the color that you're mixing it with. Now, especially because all the base colors are part of like the red pink family, adding that yellow will make a sort of like orangey shade, which is really good for the summer or like, you know, hot seasons. Now, I know orange is just one of those shades that people either love or hate. However, because you're mixing it with like these base colors, it's not like a straight up orange. So it's definitely more wearable if you're not part of that, you know, orange lipstick life. So this is something that's sold separately that I think is exclusive on the Mimi Box site. And it came out at the same time as the Artistics. It's the Mixing Palette in Spatula Pro. Now, her release of this kind of gives me the impression that she's also trying to cater to like the professional industry in the makeup world, I guess. I think that's cool because I ain't gonna see like a basic middle school bitch in Gyeonggi-do using this shit. So, which also, it's since you can only buy it online, that obviously gives you an idea. I really find that this would be useful for like if I'm doing like a client. I'm not a makeup artist, okay? I'm not a makeup artist. If I'm doing someone else's makeup, I can put the product on here rather than like the back of my hand, because obviously this has more, I feel like this has more space on it than the back of my hand. It's more hygienic, obviously, because it'll be easy to just clean this with sanitizing wipes or rubbing alcohol. And even like in my own daily makeup, I'm often putting like products on the back of my hand. Having something like this, I can, you know, just dispense product on here. Or honestly, you can just use a blank CD. Those are the same exact things. The only thing I don't really like about this set though is the spatula. Now, it's fine, it works, but I mean, when I was in a coloring class in college, we had these spatulas that you can use to mix colors on your mixing palette, and they were super bendy, so it made it really comfortable to like, you know, really wipe off all the products. You're making sure you're mixing all of the paint you know, in itself. But this is like super stiff, so as you can see, it's like not bending at all. So unless it's like on the edge where you can like wipe off, you know, the spatula, then it's kind of hard to get all of the product off the spatula and onto the plate itself. If one end had been something like the silicone tip on this brush, where it's like really bendy, that would have been really nice, because then you can see how you can just like wipe off and it will take off all the product from the silicone tip. One other thing though is I can actually, I think this is what this was also meant for, is the Artistics. I can use this end to like cut off, you know, any of the specifically even the foundation shades. And they also have like a contouring shade that I can use. I can cut off some of that and mix it so I can get like a deeper foundation, or you know, I can just use this to mix the artistics together. Anyway, that was my review of the customizing lip palette from Ponyfect. I'm sorry that shit was so long. If you made it to the end, then thank you. If you're interested in purchasing the product, I'll link it down below as I usually do. You can also find my Snapchat and my Instagram there. And also make sure you follow me on Beauty Beasts and Africa TV, where I broadcast live. And yeah, I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.
Do you still like R&B? Do you still listen to me? And could I come back for you, baby?